forewarning, I've definitely been oversold there. But it is a pleasure to be here. And as I said yesterday, I think I have a really strong belief in BTA, and I think that it's an amazing organization. So whenever anyone asks me to come speak at a BTA event, I always say yes. And I appreciate Jim inviting me today. So I want to give you a perspective from the OEM side. So I'm not here to sell Sharp. I love my Sharp dealers who are here. Some of you are going to get bored in a minute because I'm going to repeat some slides I've shared on a roadshow. But I do want to share with you what a manufacturer is seeing in the industry right now. And I'm going to use a really ugly word, and it's direct. I'm going to share with you what we're doing in direct, okay? I do believe that if you're going to have a direct operation, you should use it to leverage information for your dealers. And I've been pretty open. Our dealers are 80% of our unit volume. Our direct operations are 20. So it is in my vested interest to whatever I learn over there, I bring to our dealers. So I'm going to share some of those facts. So as Jim mentioned, we're in the middle of a road show. And I think that is a critical part of what we're providing to our dealers right now, sharing that we're going to go to 5 cities and bringing dealers in and explaining where our strategy is, what we see in the market, what we see the opportunities to be. And we call it the opportunity show. So, everyone yesterday, Derek was talking about, people saying, oh, the industry's not dead. I'm going to show you numbers in a minute. I think it's on this slide, and in a future slide. We are actually up over 2019 in print. Okay, we have more revenue coming out of print in 2022 than we did in 2019. Now, obviously, some of the print demand, right, print volume and prints are down relative to machine, but our overall business is up. So there's a lot of opportunity out there. And that's why we call the roadshow opportunity. And a key part of what I want to explain today is the puzzle piece there. So you see the logo, we used this logo in 2021. We grew our business by about 20%. I said, I'm not too smart, we're going to use the logo again. That's our motto for 2022. But the real piece is the puzzle. And this is a sign all over our building in Montvale, New Jersey, and in our branches. And it's to remind people that you can't do one thing. You can't have one element to support your customers. You can't have one product line or one product to support your customers. You've got to put all the pieces together. That's what I'm going to try to do for you today. So where's the market? It is ripe for change. Now I know a lot of the dealers in this room are more in the mid-size category, right? They're not the mega dealers. That's not a bad place to be. That's kind of where Sharp is, right? We're not one of the mega, manufacturers right now, and we're growing rapidly. And the reason is the supply chain impacts are going to remain. Now I'm going to come back to that in a second. I asked Jim to give me some ideas of what people want to hear. He said supply chain is number one. I can share what we know about the supply chain, where we see it going as a manufacturer. I think OEM communication and investment strategies are really going to matter. I would encourage every dealer, read all of your suppliers, regardless of whether it's a hardware manufacturer, software manufacturer, services supplier. Read their financials when they publish them, if they're public companies. It's all there. It is written right down what their strategy is. They have to share where they're making investments, where they're putting money, what they're doing with their inventory levels. It's all there. I encourage everybody, dig in, you'll understand better what your suppliers are doing. And I think the companies that can deliver a solution are going to really gain momentum in this market. I think that as you talk about our industry, I'm going to come back to it, we are the only industry that in the office that touches our customers pretty much every day. We have a service person going into that customer typically once a month, maybe a little longer. We have a customer service person communicating regularly with your customers. We are touching our customers more than anyone else. We have more information than anyone else. We should be leveraging that. And then finally, I do believe that the sales and commerce model will change. I think over time, you're going to see more and more products that you're going to sell to your customers online. But when I say online, I mean you online, right? You got to start partnering with how do you leverage an Ingram Micro or a Tech Data or a Synex, I guess Tech Data Synex, I should know that. How do we leverage their e-commerce engine? I think you're going to see over the next 2 years, how you do billing is going to dramatically change. Think about how many people in this room didn't have Venmo 2-3 years ago. How many people have it now? I made the mistake in one of the roadshow saying, I bet most people in this room don't have cash. I'm not going to pick on ages here, but like a 75-year-old man whipped out some cash. Like, okay, other than you, no one else has cash either. But, I mean, 10 years ago, the room would have been filled with people with wallets, big fat wallets. I carry this little thin thing now, credit cards. The way you bill will change. When you look at it from a manufacturer perspective, and I don't know if you have the investment time to look at this in your business, but at Sharp we do. And we looked at how much money it cost us to process an invoice. When we get an invoice from a customer, okay, it ranges from $50 to $60 an invoice. So imagine you're sending out a monthly bill of say $400. 10-15% of that cost of the bill is processing the bill. What if that could be automated, streamlined into a banking system? So I think you're going to start seeing those types of changes coming in the industry. And by the way, my voice is gone. I had one drink last night. So I want to jump into the status of supply chain. This is probably the number one issue in our industry. It's the number one issue in most industries right now. Is there's something called a chip in there. And I think I'm proud of what Sharp did here. I'll be honest. I'm not here to do a plug for Sharp. There's about, I think, 8 or 9 Sharp dealers here. Hopefully you're satisfied with what we've been doing. But I will say, by far, we've had the best and most consistent supply of product. And a lot of it is thinking through that puzzle. A lot of it is thinking through all the elements. And I'm going to share some with you. We've also been very, very open with our customers. Since July of 2021, we've provided what we call the heat map on the right, okay? We provide our dealers a 2-month outlook of, by model, what inventory is available. Green means that at the end of the month, we will still have enough inventory in our warehouse for a whole nother month's sales. Yellow means that we'll have between half a month and a month. The orange is 0 to half a month. And then the red means basically we're gonna run out, but we will have enough product in the following month. Black means I can't give you a good answer, okay? That means I don't know. And you can see pretty solid, the black there are all some low-end print, some of our printers that we didn't have. Longer story, but that was a decision I made to give some of my chips to the A3 side and not to my printer side, because I think more dealers would lose business on the A3 side. We didn't have a large market share in A4, and so I didn't want leases expiring for my dealers, and they didn't have a product to supply. So we transitioned that. But as you can see at the bottom, every month, and I would encourage you, this is something that all suppliers should share. We don't say, here's what we did versus plan, or here's what we did versus 2020, right? No, that doesn't matter. What matters is every dealer I can look every dealer in the eye and say, I put this out every month. Here's what we shipped versus 2019 A3, A4. Every dealer can look at it and go, did I get my fair share? And I can assure you, and I said this in a room where I had my largest dealer in the room, someone that buys north of 30 million, and I had some of my smallest deals in the room. And I said, I can guarantee you, everyone right now, if you raise your hand, you will have these numbers. You'll be very close to those percentages. And you can see a very consistent supply. You can see the drop in June, A3. That was the Shanghai shutdown. I'm going to come back to that. We did some unique things. That is one area I do not talk about. I would say we did the opposite of everyone in the industry of how to address the Shanghai shutdown. And as you can see, April and May, products were on the water. April, May factories were shut down. That would have been our June, July, August receipts. Well, June we did drop to 74% of 2019. In July, we were almost 180% of 2019. Our dealers were out basically for 2 or 3 weeks. That was basically what the impact was. And overall, I complained about September. All my dealers, I'm looking at you all, they were so far ahead of their annual quarterly rebate goals, they said, we're gonna sit this sucker out. We'll wait till next quarter. We already maxed out our rebate. And our CFO told me, first time in our company's history, that we did not have to reverse our rebate accrual. So as a manufacturer, we put aside an accrual for our rebates. Typically that's a profit source at the end of the quarter. First time ever that we basically spent all the money we put aside a rebate. I love that. I'd rather give away money in a rebate and than make profit because I didn't use my rebate, right? Much better to sell product. So we've been providing this type of information, and so I think we do have a good insight to what's happening in the market. And I want to tell you what's going on right now and what you can anticipate in the coming months and year. Really, the problem kind of peaked in January 2022. That is when on the far right, far left, you can see That is that high bar line basically shows how many container ships were off the port of Los Angeles, okay, and Long Beach. And it really spiked. We were waiting, 2 months, 2+ months to get product that normally takes 25 days to cross the ocean. Then, as things started easing up, then there was a threat of a dock worker strike, okay? I always laugh, my grandfather was a longshoreman, so I was like really angry at this. But they had that threat. Then we had the summer came, we had the Shanghai shutdown, and everyone scrambled, right? I thought I was gonna have the easiest summer. We were cruising, and then we're struggling to get product, right? And we quickly worked through it. I think all manufacturers did a good job in air shipping product in, to give you relevance of cost, to air ship a plain road. So I learned all this stuff which I never cared to know. In a container is about 96 copiers, and we would typically bring around 300 copiers can come in on a plane, and it would cost about $500,000 to $600,000 per thing. So basically, you could apply $2,000 per copier to air ship them in. So regardless of whether you're Sharp, any other manufacturer, you should thank your manufacturers. We took it in the chin to bring that product in. And then next week we saw is everyone tried to outsmart the market. And this is, I go back to my little puzzle piece. Everyone said, what we're gonna do? We're not gonna ship to the West Coast. They're all backed up. We're gonna ship to the East Coast. Well, about 35 to 40% of the product goes through Long Beach and LA port. The Port of Savannah is 1/10 the size. It's actually less now, but it's 1/10 the size. It'd be nice if we have people from Savannah here, of Long Beach. Forget about LA combined. So people started sending things around. If you drop 1% of the shipments out of Long Beach and spread them evenly across the East Coast ports, all the East Coast ports jump up 20-25% on intake. Ain't gonna happen. So what happened? A lot of people did that, not only in our industry, in other industries. We said we're gonna keep sending everything to Long Beach, it's still a better bet. And ultimately what happened is it got stuck out there. A couple weeks ago, I think there's a sign up there, 8 ships off the coast of Southern California, 41 off the coast of Savannah. So we kept the supply chain going because we paused and said, before we jump, can they actually receive those products, right? Also, what type of products go through different ports? So if you think of, for my New Jersey friends, I know Ed would know, and a couple others, New Jersey ports have good capacity, but they're primarily for petroleum. Okay, Houston, primarily for petroleum. Yeah, you have the ability to bring in other things. We have a lot of refineries in that port. So you bring cargo in that port, the capacity looks good, but they actually don't have a lot of cranes to offload container ships. So it really triggered a new crisis. Then we had the rail strike. It seems to be going back and forth. And then finally, that last picture is our warehouse in Atlanta last week, okay? Those are printers. So feel free, Sharp dealers, I have availability just, in the back of the room. But we're beginning to see a really good supply chain. So you say, oh, Mike, it's getting better. Honestly, it was a little temporary. The challenge we face, this is an older slide I've been sharing for a while now, is that our industry, and it's on the far right, there's little dots over here you see. This is the volume that our industry produces in A3 and A4, okay? A3 MFP, like 600,000, a couple million on the printers. Smartphones, 161 million smartphones sold in the US each year, 88 million laptops, I can go on and on, right? So those people eat up a lot of the chips. That's just in the electronic space, okay? Then you got the automobile space, which I'll come to in a second. So what happens, right? And if you're a Sharp dealer, you heard me say 8 or 9 years ago, or 7, 8 years ago when Foxconn bought us, I said, we're gonna start getting chips quicker than other people, and I used an example of the Atom processor. I said it took about 8 years, 8 to 10 years for the Atom processor to come from the PC into a copier, okay? They went to their big suppliers first, they took care of those people first, Intel, the big AMD, those people, and they worked their way down to our industry. Whether we like it or not, we are late in the line in getting chips. So it really was going to be a delay, and I still say it's 2023, mid-2023 before a full recovery. So some of you may say, well, right now, Mike, we're getting product pretty good last month. Well, what happened was all those big number people, they looked at the economy, they looked at the forecast. Go back to, we produced product in May, June, July for the holiday season. The imports all come August, September, October to get into the holiday season for Black Friday, for all the sales. And you can see that all of these companies start saying a recession will ease a little bit of what I would call discretionary goods. Do you really need one more Amazon Alexa in your house, right? Do you really need one more smart whatever in your house? And so what happened is a lot of those people reduced their forecasts, it freed up some chips, and then it just rebalanced real quick, and all of us in the industry grabbed the chips, right? Well, that's gonna change. They're gonna level out their production, they're gonna get the inventories in line. If you think about, like, you've all saw the news stories, Bed Bath & Beyond, right? Too much inventory, a lot of these companies, too much inventory. They're just level setting. Once they get level, we're back to the same problem. There's just not enough supply. Same thing on the cars. During the cars, this is the period, well, the summer is the period where they change over production, right? November, December, you get your new year model cars. So they're changing over production. There's always a lull. It typically gets picked up by the consumer electronics industry. That didn't happen. As they start ramping up, they're going to have a problem. And I would argue that Toyota, when you see Toyota, companies like Volkswagen, right, Honda, when they all say that their production will be impacted by supplies of chips, they basically, believe it or not, a car has roughly the same number of chips in it as one of our copiers, right? And when I say chips, we're really talking about sensors for the most part. So if you have a $40,000 car versus a $6,000 copier, who's going to outbid you for the chips when they come available? So this problem will remain through 2023. So I don't mean to be a pessimist, but I'm a realist. I want to share that with everybody. This is what we're facing.